Hello everyone, and welcome to Yoshi 1 Kenobi's Efreet Flamepainter Mardu deck. In this deck we play Efreet Flamepainter, and we're playing it in Mardu colors. No Izzet there, no Magma Opus. Main problem with Magma Opus is that you need to find a way to have Flamepainter connect with the opponent. And you're either casting an 8 mana spell, or you need an open board. But no, not with this deck. In this deck, the combo makes itself. So first of all, let's go over to Flamepainter. It's a 1/4 double striker. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you may cast an instant or sorcery from your graveyard for free. And then it gets exiled. But since you have double strike, if you connect with the opponent, that means 2 free spells. So the challenge with Efreet Flamepainter is A, get potent / very good instants or sorceries in the graveyard. 2, ensure the Flamepainter stays alive. And 3, you need the Efreet Flamepainter to actually connect with the opponent. And these are fairly difficult to do. So let's see how we're doing this. Well, how do we keep Efreet Flamepainter alive? Step 1, I think it was step 2. But whatever, step 1, we're playing 3 copies of Selfless Savior, which while on the battlefield costs 0 mana to give Efreet Flamepainter indestructible. We're also playing 4 copies of Elite Spellbinder, which allows us to see our opponent's hand, and allow us to plan to kind of bait out our opponent's removal before we play the Flamepainter, or just make that piece of removal cost a lot. Humiliate works around the same lines, plus it's a sorcery that we get to bring back with the Flamepainter. So you have 6 hand disruption spells, plus the 3 Selfless Savior, to defend our Flamepainter. In terms of connecting with our opponent, well, we're playing some removal with Skyclave Apparitions, Bonecrusher Giant, Igneous Inspiration, but the very key card is Silverquill Command, because you can give Efreet Flamepainter +3/+3 in flying until end of turn, and that's just as one of the modes. And that means that you suddenly have a 4/7 double striking flying creature, which is extremely scary on its own, without the effect that's really scary on the Efreet Flamepainter. And so Silverquill Command allows you to connect with the opponent with the Flamepainter. So what are those powerful spells that we get to cast with the Flamepainter to complete our triumvirate of effects and requirements for a Flamepainter? Well, Silverquill Command actually fits that bill perfectly. You can repump the Flamepainter if you need an extra 3 points of damage. You can force the opponent to sacrifice a creature, bring back one of your 2-drops. And suddenly you can do stuff like opponent sack a creature, you give +3/+3 flying, opponent sacks a creature, and you bring back another creature from your graveyard for just ridiculous value that should be game ending. In the same way, we're playing 2 copies of Lorehold Command, which is just very powerful, allows you to protect your board. It's a removal spell, put a creature in play, and if you get it for free with Efreet Flamepainter, it's just that much more awesome value. Igneous Inspiration, it's a burn spell, also gets you an extra card, very good at that. And then there's another instant and sorcery that's not in the main list, but that's quite important, and that's Masked Exhibition. It's a 7 mana summon 3 creatures. Okay, so how do we cast that with Efreet Flamepainter? First of all, we cast Igneous Inspiration to remove an opponent's creature, fetching the Masked Exhibition, and then we get to discard it with Seasoned Hollowblade, which allows you to put instants and sorceries in your graveyard from your hand, even if they're overcosted. Kind of like what Magma Opus allowed you to do with its passive ability. We can do the same thing with Emeria's Call, which can act as a land half of the time, can also act as a good late game card, and can act as an extra sorcery that you get to cast for free with Efreet Flamepainter if you have the Hollowblade to support it. And then there's a little bit of extra synergies, where we're playing Humiliate and Luminarch Aspirant, which allow you to put +1/+1 counters on creatures. And guess what? +1/+1 counters are pretty good on the double striking creature. So just having the high-powered double striker that threatens to win the game if it connects is pretty good. Forces some bad blocks on the opponent's side of the battlefield, or just deals tons of damage. Imagine you just put 1 or 2 +1/+1 counters on Flamepainter, and suddenly you give it +3/+3 flying. That's almost 20 points of damage right off the bat. Well, assuming, okay, not 20, but a lot of damage. You get the point. Then we're also playing a pair of Valkyries for the early game mostly, but also scales into the late game. It's a good card. We're playing 2 Shatterskull Smashing, again, it's a good card. We're playing a variety of spells in our wish board thanks to the learn from the Igneous Inspiration. And what this deck does is that it has this core kind of white weenies feel with Selfless Savior, Luminarch Aspirant, Hollow Blade, Spellbinder, Skyclave Apparition to put that pressure on the opponent and forcing the opponent to cast their removal spells and deal with the early threats, and suddenly cast the Efreet Flamepainter, which is a must-answer threat. And then you have these high-powered synergistic cards to just close out the game. So imagine it as a White Weenies deck with a better late game thanks to these powerful spells and the threat that's the Flamepainter. But as the sacrifice, you have to play 3 colors, which means we're playing some tap lands, we're not playing the aggressive 1-drops. But the list plays in a very fun way, especially when you do get the Flamepainter and Silverquill Command, which happens quite a bit. Then you get a very powerful situation, and you basically, it's the perfect time for an evil laugh. And with that, let's see the deck in action with some games and some of that awesomeness in real game mode. We are playing Mardu Flamepainter on MTG Arena Standard against Otter Drainage. You can see Lurrus deck, most likely rogues, possibly cycling. Yeah, this is okay. Alright, definitely rogues. So, scrying is useless. Let's go for colors then. Opening up with our Triumph. Opponent opens up Double Crab. Feeding our graveyard with all sorts of instants and sorceries. Igneous Inspiration, which will allow us to deal with a crab. Doesn't matter top or bottom. I guess I'll leave it at top because I don't want to draw it. Alright. One probably has counter magic out. We can force it out with Humiliate. Play Maria's Call tap and then set up next turn where we have Silverquill Command. Seems good. With the opponent feeding off our graveyard, we have some good targets for Silverquill Command. Also allows us to get rid of a Crab of Doom. I think we want Valky. Alright, that's good. That means no Into the Story to be seen. Play this on red. Silverquill Command. You sack a creature and I'll take one back. And mine shall be Valky, God of Lies. Okay, I wasn't expecting this Disdainful Stroke. I'll be perfectly honest right there. I saw no black for Drown and I was partying. Alright, well, we'll try this again. Silverquill Command. You sack a creature, and I get a Valky. No Drown. No Drown. Alright. I get a Crab. What do you have? Ah, you heartless monster. Killing off our Valky, and you'll be able to revive the Crab. On the bright side, you're running out of lands. Almost running out of lands. Fortunately, we absolutely totally must kill Lurrus. Otherwise it gets pretty disastrous. I'll play Luminarch Aspirant. And I'm not sure what I want our opponent to draw. Not a swamp. I guess that's technically a swamp. Down to 8 cards in our library. Humiliate's not the best. I think we have the Flamepainter here. I'll boost the Flamepainter. Oops. I'll boost the Aspirant. Get in for some damage. My opponent can activate Castle Lockbane. Igneous Inspiration. Alright, we can humiliate Igneous Inspiration. So let's go for that. Humiliate. What do you have? Dispute and Merfolk Windrobber. I'll take away the Dispute, as otherwise our Igneous Inspiration isn't going to resolve. Put a +1/+1 counter on the Efreet Flamepainter. And now give you a hard choice. Do you block the Flamepainter? Ooh. Living life on the edge. We can Silverquill Command. Give +3/+3 to our creature and you will sacrifice a Rune Crab. Actually, you had to block. So now you'll take 6 from the first strike damage, 3 from Luminarch Aspirant, and we'll kill you with a Lorehold Command. Or an Igneous Inspiration. Always block the Flamepainter. That is the lesson of this story. Lorehold Command. Let's make a 3/2 and kill you. And that's how you beat rogues. With Efreet Flamepainter, when the opponent chooses not to block it. Not that if the opponent did block it, then we would Igneous Inspiration the other crab and then the opponent's in top deck mode. But it's better than losing outright. So, we'll take the win. We are playing Mardu Flamepainter on MTG Arena Standard against Staunton. Staunt? Yes. Staunton. Yeah, I'll keep this. There's 3 lands, all the colors we want except the double white, but that's enough to keep. Opponent's playing Sultai. Hollowblade's a welcome addition to our force. Is it fast enough though? That is the question. Play this on red, so you have the double red available. Play the Hollowblade. Make your opponent's life just that much more difficult. Does the opponent try to kill it? Is now the time for the extinction event? No, it is not. Spellbinder's nice draw. We'll go to combat. Hit you for 3. Maybe you've been keeping counter magic up. Let's find out. And counter magic it is. And that's okay. Keeping the Hollowblade in play is decent. I would like to be able to stop the ultimatum though. Maybe playing the Bone Crusher Giant was a better play there. Alright, extinction event. You got it. So now the extinction event's out of the way. I think we want to go Flamepainter. And pass the turn back. Alright, opponent had another very specific piece of removal. Finding the old god or extinction events, what our opponent needed there. I'll go for the double threat. Best thing our opponent has against this one is Shadow's Verdict. Do you have the third very specific piece of removal? Heartless Act will no longer hit the Bone Crusher Giant. You can also eliminate the Bone Crusher Giant. That can reduce most of the pressure. And you get to ultimatum next turn. One by Zorion. Well, sometimes you just gotta pay the price. We did well putting the counter on Bone Crusher Giant. Silverquill Command. We'll keep that for next turn. And we get to kill Yorion. Assuming the opponent doesn't ultimatum our face, which is very likely. But in the meantime, let's ping you for 3 and bring in. We're on 2, 3, 4, 5. Expanded anatomy? No, we need another body. Spirit summoning. Alright. Binding the Old Gods goes away. Curabest the Sea God. We have game. We have game against Curabest the Sea God. Because we get to force you to sacrifice a creature. Then we're going to make our Selfless Savior into a 4/4 flying creature before taking you down with the Puppy and the Giant. A very satisfying win against a Sultai Yorion. We didn't quite ultimate him, but Curabest the Sea God's the next best thing. Kind of. If you wait a couple of turns. Well, we beat it, and that's all that matters. We are playing Mardu Flamepainter on MTG Arena Standard against a hole in the earth. Alright, well let's not fall into that trap and play this game like a boss. Alright, so we have 2 lands. Scry land, which will hopefully find us our next land, which it did, which will allow us to go Seasoned Hallowblade or Valky, depending on what we see here. That's different. I am intrigued. Very much intrigued. So I will go black in the Valky. I suspect it's a Ragnos type of deck. And I am right. It is Ragnos deck. Exiling Bone Crusher Giant's pretty good. Although, turning into a Kroxa would just be fantastic. Our opponent would just Bone Crush Valky, so that's not gonna happen. That's kind of the dream with Valky. You turn 2 Valky, turn 3 you transform it into a Kroxa, and you start tearing your opponent to pieces. Well, let's go with the next best thing. Make Valky live, and force our opponent to turn 2 Kroxa. Turn 3 Egon. With the Throne of Dead on the battlefield, they'll give Egon a couple turns. Could also just Skyclave Apparition the Throne of Death. Our opponent wouldn't have too much graveyard feed. That'll resolve. Look what I see. I think I want to take away the Silverquill Command, though. No, Hallowblade's what I want to discard here. Why? Because Flamepainter and Silverquill Command are fantastic together. And they're close to being game ending. So what do we want to do here? Do we just want to transform Valky into a Bone Crusher Giant? And then next turn Skyclave Apparition? I think so. I think that's the line here. 1, 2, 3. You are a Bone Crusher Giant. Hypnosis successful. Opponent can go Egon. But Egon's going to eat your graveyard very fast. And also Silverquill Command and Efreet Flamepainter are going to be doing very short work of whatever you do. Yeah, actually I think we want a Flamepainter next turn. If the opponent just goes Egon. Even Egon Embercleave is only 14 points of damage, and that's not enough. That's a line you don't hear every day. Turn 4, 14 points of damage? That's not a problem. Oh, okay, you're gonna go Crater. That's even better. This is an odd matchup. Now normally I'd feel compelled to play the Spellbinder here, but I'm going to play the Flamepainter because the Bone Crusher Giant's a big threat, and this is a Flamepainter video, which honestly is the main reason why I'm not playing the Spellbinder, because their opponent's in a bind, and if the opponent can't play Egon next turn, they're in big trouble. And even a hasty Egon. See, the opponent really needs to remove the Flamepainter this turn, and if they do, then we still have the Spellbinder. This is all but one. Especially if the opponent goes Egon haste attack. There's no way the opponent attacks with Egon, right? Croxa? No, you're a short one card. Defensive Egon. Alright. Egon on the suicidal mission. That will make short work of that. You'll sacrifice a creature, the Flamepainter will become a 4/7 double striking flyer, and we will overkill you. Which is sad, because you were trying to play something fun. Also bring back the Hollow Blade, because we can. And the overkill has been achieved against the hole in the earth, as we successfully proved that Flamepainter and Silverquill Command, when uncontested, just tear down your opponent's life and board quite effectively. We are playing Mardu Flamepainter on MTG Arena Standard against Lupus 9-0. Alright, that's 2 lands, 2 Flamepainters. We go first. We don't have a Scry. We're gonna keep anyways. Trio. Opponent matches our Triome with a Triome of their own. Let Luminarch Aspirant. Leaving ourselves quite vulnerable to a Bone Crusher Giant, but that's either Jeskai Control or Jeskai Cycling. Cycling will have a trouble beating the Luminarch. Okay, Jeskai Cycling. Fortunately, I don't have the untap land for the Skyclave Apparition, but we'll be playing the Battle of the Big Creature. The Luminarch Aspirant doesn't grow quite as fast as Flourishing Fox, but still does fairly well. Valiant Rescuer, cycle tokens. You may get tokens. Turn passes back. Well, of course, attack with this Luminarch Aspirant. Opponent jumps. We'll kill the Valiant Rescuer because it makes more tokens than the Improbable Alliance. What do we want? Reduce the memory is probably what we want. Is there anything that exiles our opponent's graveyard? No. Reduce the memory it is. Allows us to get rid of the Improbable Alliance. Especially when there's 2 of them. Tokens are gonna start stacking. And they will get in the way of our Luminarch Aspirant. Every single time. And yeah, since they're flyers, our opponent can get in. Well, we'll go Skyclave Apparition. Let's make sure that the Aspirant is applying a good amount of pressure. The odds are we'll just lose the little flying fairies and a big solar flare. I'll get rid of one of those. So you can't produce 50 tokens every turn. Ironcrack Pyromancer is a problem. Make a flyer. Target the Skyclave Apparition with some burn. I'll protect the Skyclave Apparition, of course. And now's the hard part. Can go Osperon Selfless Savior. And then we'll get to protect our Osperon from the Ironclad Pyromancer. Can reduce the memory of the Ironclad Pyromancer. But then the Improbable Alliance is going to get us. It's really a pick your poison type of thing. Do I want to lose to a bunch of flyers or do I want to lose to creatures? If we do exile the Pyromancer, maybe the ultimate Luminarch is going to be good enough. I think I have to get rid of the Pyromancer. It's only once a turn though. So if I have 4/4s, our opponent can't really touch us. In which case the Improbable Alliance is the way to go. Well, let's go Osperon. Let's go this route. Osperon Selfless Savior. Combat. Put 2 counters on the Apparition, putting it out of range of the Pyromancer. So now we have at least 2 attacking threats. Selfless Savior will protect the Osperon. Opponent takes it. Opponent's getting ready to Solar Flare now. Although there's only 4 cards with cycling in the graveyard. Second Pyromancer. And that's what I was afraid of. One that cycles. One gets to target. I should target my face in the small Osperon. Yeah, these targets just give me free, well, 3 points of damage, 3 points of life for free. Alright. We can play another Luminarch Osperon and get this one out of range. But now with 2 Pyromancers, any cycling card allows you to deal very handsomely with some of my creatures. Or maybe I just keep the 2 threats. Maybe that's good enough. I think I just keep the 2 threats, which need to be at least 5. Hit you. You need to block at least 1. You don't have a good double block, so I get to remove 2 blockers. We have to exile the Pyromancer. Otherwise you can start pinging down our Luminarch Osperons. I'll play this on red. Pass the turn back. Now the problem is you can block the Skyclave Osperon. Ugh. So many tokens, so many threats. And the opponent hasn't even gotten out the solar flares yet. The opponent is just making a wall of threats. Opponent's keeping everything up for defense. Well, we can make a new threat. If I make those into 6/6s, opponent has to block quite a lot. Or I can make this 7. I think I have to go this route. Force either 2 chumps or 1 big block. But eventually our opponent is going to run out of cycling cards. It does eventually happen. I'll play the Flamepainter. The 4 toughness of the Flamepainter is going to play in our advantage here. We'll play this on white. Pass the turn back as you double cycle. Or hopefully for me, he's stuck with 2 non-cycling cards. This is MARDU Command. 2 damage, draw 2, discard 2. Oh, and that triggers a Pyromancer and Improbable Alliance. Well played, opponent. Should have gone after the Aspharon, but well played. Prismari Command's a nice addition. That's for sure. She threw a Solar Flare for this. Zenith Flare. Well, let's make that Flamepainter dangerous. And attack with both of our threats. Let's see what you've got, opponent. Blocking with the flyers. I guess you can just jump and eventually kill me with all the threats you have. Cycle, cycle. And that'll be game. 3 to the face. And that's enough. Good game, opponent. Just too many threats with those cycling things. And a Prismari Command was too much. We are playing Mardu Flamepainter on MTG Arena Standard against Chris Caravello. And we have a fairly decent opening hand over here, and we're going first, so we're going to keep this. White, black, but then I no longer have red source. So I think I have to go Miria's Call. Untap for Selfless Savior. Pass the turn back. Opponent plays a Swamp. We'll play this on black. And shred your hand to smithereens. Okay, that's what our opponent's playing. Lyris, Ayara Acquisition Expert. And Eliminate. Eliminate's the only removal spell. We have Selfless Savior, so that thing I'm not worried about. Skycleave Shade is useless to throw in the graveyard. So Acquisitions Expert is probably what we take out. Or Lyris. We go after the big threats. Take out the Lyris and the Yara with Spellbinder. I think that's what we'll go for. Take down Lyris. Hit you for 2. Which means we'll have to discard our Silverquill Command. Oh, or the opponent decides to get aggro on us. Play this on red. And bind the Yara. Ah, another Lyris. Probably still want to bind the Yara. I should have taken a second to actually look at what our opponent drew. There are players who play too slow and players who play too fast. We can't block this. If we block, we're aiming to trade. Because the opponent could just respond with Eliminate. Then we'd be caught in an awkward position. I much prefer this position. Alright. I think I want to use the Ignis Inspiration now. slow down our opponent. We'll pick up the Mascot Exhibition. It'll be our throwaway card. Once the opponent decides to go for the Acquisitions Expert. Opponent can go Acquisitions Expert Skyclave or Lurrus. Or whatever that other card in hand is. Alright, opponent goes for a double creature. Opponent holds back removal apparently. Opponent will fire off removal or let it go. In the famous words of Elsa, let it go. Give us the... oh, Thieves Guild Enforcer. Okay. Don't overly care about that. Only have 5 cards in the yard. Well, it's a pretty good target to revive with Lurrus. I'm okay trading here. Trading the card. The Exhibition. Acquisitions Expert. Pair of Rogues. You'll get a Silverquill Command. Yeah, just one. Alright. I would have liked land. Skyclave Apparition we cannot play. They don't really want to give either of these cards for Lurrus to bring back. So it'll just be the Spellbinder in the air, the Hollow Blade on the battlefield, and a turn back to our opponent. Land a Yara is probably one of the plays. If the opponent attacks, we're not blocking. Nighthawk Scavenger. Well, now we need a white source. That'll also do. Quite nicely at that. Academic Probation is quite tempting now. No. I think we're still a little short. We'll take the Expanded Anatomy. Threatening lethal in the air with the Spellbinder next turn. And we're still not going to give you Lurrus options. Ayara. Drains us for 1. You have another Thieves Guild Enforcer. Because otherwise the Expanded Anatomy is gonna get you. Opponent's thinking about sacrificing a creature. Game? We're in the Village Rites. And you're out of mana. So that'll be it. Spellbinded did that. We had a little bit of lessons and learning here and there. No Flamepainter in sight, but still a pretty close game. I hope that you've enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe. It won't cost you any mana, and it greatly helps to support this channel and keep the awesome videos coming. Until next time, may the fun be with you.